If you think you've missed out on the Bitcoin boom last year, when it soared from $700 back in the beginning of 2017 to as high as 20,000 per coin in December, or whether you think that the Bitcoin bubble has burst and we're going into a bear market, I have just learned from an insider some good news for you. It's not too late. Bitcoin mania is just beginning. As early as in less than 60 days, a massive, almost $900 billion mountain of money will begin trading in Bitcoin. That will cause three or more other cryptocurrencies to grow along with Bitcoin when this happens. A person could easily grow what they have in those cryptocurrencies 50, 100, even 200 times the amount of money that you have in by simply buying before this event that will happen in less than 60 days. And I'll show you why this is so important in a moment. Now, I know that's a big promise. You might even be skeptical now that Bitcoin has plunged down to less than $8,000 per coin. You may be wondering, is there any money left to make for me? You see, something big is about to happen to Bitcoin, something that's already beginning to send the price higher. Billionaire Mike Novogratz, a former hedge fund manager, says it will send Bitcoin to over $40,000 this year per coin. Billionaire Jeremy Liu, a Silicon Valley icon, believes it could send Bitcoin to a few $100,000 per coin. My insider says that conservative math tells him Bitcoin could easily hit $350,000 per coin sometime in the next few years. That means if you invest in Bitcoin right now, you could still make 20 times your money. And while Bitcoin is used as a foundational crypto for almost all the projects with these other crypto tokens, there are a few other cryptocurrencies that I could see even higher gains during the same period of time. But in fact, there are other specific cryptocurrencies that could grow at a higher pace. I'm not making any predictions, and no one can predict the future. But Bloomberg believes the unprecedented shift that's coming could open the floodgates. And all of the big players in cryptocurrency I know are going to take advantage of this. Be some founders, venture capitalists, development teams. They're all positioning themselves for huge multi-million dollar bets that Bitcoin and a handful of other smaller currencies are about to do. It's no bull. This will be the biggest event ever in history to happen to digital currency or cryptocurrency. And if you get in ahead of it, you may never have to worry about money again. There is one caveat. You must act in less than 60 days. If you do nothing, you'll miss out on this once in a lifetime chance, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Once this event takes place, you won't have another chance. You'll never see the days of Bitcoin at 10,000 or 20,000 or even $30,000 per coin again. This is your last chance to get in before it goes through the roof. And if you act quickly, you could make a life-changing fortune in a matter of months, all while risking just a few $100s. So what is going to happen? Some of Wall Street's largest players are gearing up for Bitcoin. In short, Wall Street says we're about to see a huge influx of cash into the cryptocurrency market, more than we've ever seen before. I'm talking about big institutional money, potentially trillions of dollars for some of the biggest players in the world. Big banks, pensions, hedge funds, trillion-dollar asset manager. This truly is a game changer. Wall Street put a major stamp of approval for cryptocurrencies, and it's going to trigger enormous growth. Keep in mind, this isn't some out of left field prediction. This is coming from the smartest, most connected people on Wall Street. You see, recently at a major cryptocurrency event, one of the biggest of the year in New York City. The insider that told me was there and was invited to a private gathering after the event. This after party event was put together by one of the top billionaires in cryptocurrency, a former hedge fund manager whose name you've probably seen in the newspapers recently. It was a who's who of Silicon Valley power players and Wall Street executives. This is when it was made known beyond a shadow of a doubt that Wall Street is preparing to make a big move in the coming weeks and months. It's not going to be a tidal wave. It's going to be an ocean of money that flows into the cryptocurrency market. The last time this happened on a much smaller scale, you could have tripled your money in just a month. Now it's about to happen again in a much bigger way. And I believe it will trigger the biggest Bitcoin bull market yet. I realize this is the exact opposite of what you're hearing and seeing from the experts on TV or YouTube. They're all predicting Bitcoin's death. The mainstream has already written off Bitcoin over 225 times. On June 20th, 2011, Forbes wrote, "So this is the end of Bitcoin." Or USA Today wrote, "Bitcoin is headed to the ash heap." On December the 24th, 2017, the folks at Huffington Post called it a hoax. You'd think they'd learn, but they don't. But the truth is, most of the talking heads on TV or YouTube, they have no experience with Bitcoin. We're about to see a major buying fever come alive. Up till now, most Bitcoin buyers has come from people in the know as well as a few tire kickers. The institutional money has missed out completely. Institutions don't like being left out in the cold, and they are about to make a statement in the market. Bitcoin has made headlines across the globe, soaring in value, and it is my belief they are the cause of this massive pullback in the market, and they're doing it so that they can jump in at the right time and make even more millions. There's only one problem. The cryptocurrency market doesn't have the proper infrastructure in place. It needs what Wall Street calls an institutional grade custodian, someone that can set up to handle multi-billion-dollar accounts. The platform or the infrastructure hasn't been available until now. It certainly isn't going to be Coinbase in their current state. Look at how long it takes them to get you your cryptocurrency now, until now. A few Goldman Sachs insiders just leaked that the company is about to launch a cryptocurrency trading desk. This didn't make the headlines in the mainstream media. So for the first time, big institutions will be able to invest in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies through Goldman Sachs. This is huge news. This has never happened before. The only thing it comes close to is it's similar to when the first tech stocks traded on NASDAQ, or when the institutions were able to buy gold for the first time back in 1974. It will go live in the second quarter of this year. And since this wasn't an official announcement from Goldman Sachs, most people still don't know about it. But it will make it so that the biggest institutions can buy and sell Bitcoin. This conservatively could easily bring close to $900 billion into the market. I'll show you the math in a minute. And long term could unlock trillions more. When this happened before, you could have tripled your value in Bitcoin in just a month. Back in December of 2017, the Chicago Board Options and Exchange introduced cryptocurrency derivatives. 1 week later, the Chicago Mercantile and Exchange launched Bitcoin's futures markets, or futures contract. This was big news at the time. One of the headlines about it was from the Wall Street Journal, a potential huge step in the evolution of Bitcoin. In less than a month, Bitcoin more than tripled in price. Bitcoin went from $6,400 per coin all the way up to $20,000 per coin. When this event happens, if it does what happened then and only triples, at today's prices, it would mean Bitcoin would go back above the $20,000 mark. Keep in mind, what's about to happen is much, much bigger. Bitcoin futures contracts don't actually trade in Bitcoin. They are all traded in US dollars. This is not the case with what's happening with Goldman Sachs institutional funds. Real institutional money is going to be flowing into the actual Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. When this happens, I wouldn't be surprised to see it jump 3, 4, 5 times higher than the last time it did, with many lesser known cryptocurrencies soaring right along with it, much higher than even Bitcoin. Now, this news alone is reason enough for you to create your own buying strategy. But what's really exciting is this is just the tip of the iceberg. Coinbase, the largest, most respectable cryptocurrency exchange, is also going through the process of becoming a qualified custodian. That means it will almost be set up to handle billions in institutional money. I know I said earlier that Coinbase couldn't do this in their current state, and that's true. But obviously they are positioning themselves to cash in on this event to make even more millions than they already making now with the current system, as bad as it is. You have very little time to get ahead of the big money. It could be in a very short time you could see headlines come about Coinbase accepting a huge multi-million-dollar bet on Bitcoin. In fact, Coinbase has already said that it knows of a $10 billion deal just waiting to get in. Hopefully you'll have some money in Bitcoin before this money flows in. Can you imagine what the impact will have on the price? There are smaller cryptocurrency plays I'm seriously looking at. They could soar higher than Bitcoin by more than 20 to 30 times in price. The next few months are going to mark a massive second shift upwards for the cryptocurrencies. All of these coins are currently trading for fractions of what they'll be worth in the next year or so, including Bitcoin. The gains could be the same as last year. Another 1900% move would push Bitcoin over the $300,000 mark. But you must act soon. We're in a moment of Bitcoin's history that is unique. When the institutional money comes into play, your chance of buying Bitcoin for less than 20,000 or even 50,000, those days will be long gone. Bitcoin is following a pattern seen before. First, a new investment is created, like cryptocurrency. Second, the early speculators get in. And then third, Wall Street institutional money pours in, sending the market soaring. It's a three-step pattern that the market has seen before. This is exactly what happened with the internet boom. First came phase one. In the 1980s, America Online, Prodigy, and the internet companies were formed. And then a few years later, we entered phase two. These companies went public, and in the know people in Silicon Valley were early investors. Wall Street still wasn't interested in them. Many top venture capitalists have invested over $2.1 billion in cryptocurrency technology startups. That includes the co-founder of PayPal, Peter Thiel, and the first outside investor in Facebook. Thiel's founders fund recently purchased $15 to $20 million worth of Bitcoin. Netscape's co-founder, Mark Anderson, one of Silicon Valley's most influential venture capitalists, is also a major enthusiast. Mark said, "When we're sitting here in 20 years, we'll be talking about Bitcoin the way we talk about the internet today." Billionaire Richard Branson, Yahoo founder Jerry Yang, Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff, Google Ventures, and many, many more. But there is more. According to Business Insider, hedge funds will be cashing in on Bitcoin mania. There are now 120 Bitcoin hedge funds. This is huge. Hedge funds manage $3 trillion or more. They alone could send the entire market 2 to 3 times higher. And don't forget, all the big banks that are that have been sitting on the sidelines applying for many blockchain patents. They're getting ready to jump into cryptos also. Fidelity CEO says she loves cryptocurrencies. Recently, her company partnered with Coinbase, not to mention started a Bitcoin mining operation. Bank of America, the second largest bank in the US, just got a patent approved for cryptocurrency exchange system. Citicorp's CFO recently told investors about exploring cryptocurrencies. That's another $2.2 trillion in the institutional money that will soon be up for grabs. The list goes on and on. The NASDAQ is planning to launch Bitcoin futures as early as April. The NASDAQ manages over $6.8 trillion in assets. Millions of investors will have access through Bitcoin futures through NASDAQ. And even JP Morgan Chase has changed its tune. Good old Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, has done his best to trash Bitcoin. In September, he called Bitcoin a fraud and a scam and said that he would fire anybody he caught trading Bitcoin. Now, as late as January the 9th, he's changed his rhetoric. He's called Bitcoin a fraud one day and then bought millions of coins the next. Can you imagine what these big players could do to Bitcoin's price? Collectively, they have over $16 trillion under management. That's more money than the GDP of China. And that's just the start. There are about $84.9 to $85 trillion of assets across the globe. You can't expect all the money is going to flow into Bitcoin. But now you can imagine what could happen if just 1% of all those trillions of dollars is invested in cryptocurrencies. It could send roughly $900 billion into the cryptocurrency market, which would be like getting in on Bitcoin back in the early days. The point is, you're not too late. You still have a small window of time to get started in this market. You can take it to the bank, no pun intended. The institutional money is going to transform this market as we know it now. With Google's parent company, Alphabet, 81% of the shares are held by institutions. And in smaller companies, it's not uncommon for 95% of the shares to be held by them. Imagine getting in before the institutional players poured in millions and billions of dollars driving up the price of these stocks. We have that kind of opportunity with cryptocurrencies right now. I can already hear account managers telling their clients, you need to allocate 5% of your portfolio to Bitcoin and a few other cryptocurrencies. It's the best way to lower your volatility. Pensions funds are desperate for money. There are some estimates that state pension funds are facing over a $6 trillion deficit, unfunded liabilities. They can't dig themselves out of a debt making 5% a year from stocks and bonds. The state of Maryland retirement and pension system is looking at cryptocurrencies. England is facing its own pensions nightmare. Pensions are starting to let you invest in Bitcoin funds. Endowment funds are another group looking at cryptocurrencies. That's why many experts, including the former portfolio manager of the University of Chicago, are telling them to jump into cryptocurrencies now. That's another $515 billion in assets. The list goes on and on. As you saw, even just 1% will send the cryptocurrency market soaring. They won't be large stakes, but that won't matter. As you just saw, it will be a no-brainer. Here's what is important. The huge infusion of institutional money is coming. Many of the most powerful countries, including China, England, Russia, the Netherlands, and Canada, are just getting in. Russia already has its own cryptocurrency in place, and it has tested it in billions of rubles, just waiting on the timing to bring it out in full swing. Russia used to be one of the Bitcoin's biggest opponents, But now Russia's finance minister is telling Bloomberg that this year the country plans to accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a legal financial instrument. With a GDP of 1.3 trillion, this is a country with 144 million people and announcing that it's about to open the floodgates to cryptocurrency. The world is turning to cryptocurrencies and it's happening right before your eyes. That's why I think it would be smart that every investor put down a small chunk of what they can afford as soon as possible. By investing in Bitcoin, you could make easily 20 times your money. However, by investing in the 3 smaller cryptocurrencies I've been told about by the insider, you could make much, much more. Because when the new money enters the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin has always gone up. And if you've been paying attention to the markets, lesser known cryptocurrencies oftentimes go much higher. Most people don't realize this when it happens. Last year, a handful of other cryptocurrencies put Bitcoin's 1,318% gains to shame. As much as I would like to share that with you here in this article, I can't. I will be able to disclose the top cryptocurrencies in a later post. But first, I want to see how many people read this post and upvote it and leave a comment of how much they are interested in finding out what those other currencies are that will grow more than Bitcoin. I haven't thought about how I can get this to those that are willing to pay for the information, or if I will even charge for the information. It's all going to depend on how well this is received and upvoted. If there's enough interest and votes, I may not even charge anyone. I may release it for free. Let's face it, if you had this kind of information that is truly a once in a lifetime event, how much would you charge for this information? Besides, I've already told everybody for free how they can make a ton of money without even knowing what those other currencies are. That information alone is going to make those that take advantage of it a ton of money. Here's what I'd like to see. Obviously, I'd like to see a lot of upvotes. Comment and tell me what you think this kind of information would be worth to you. And also, if you would give it away or would you charge for it? Like, share, upvote, follow me, and if you find this interesting, please leave a comment.